Our story follows our protagonist named Kong, where he ended up being transported to another world after spending 20 years fighting in this world where the rule was kill or be killed. He became a powerful necromancer of maximum level, and after meeting the dimensional administrator he returned to Earth, but he ended discovering that only 5 have passed years, and not only that, after his departure to another world, Dajomon appeared in land, and in this incident his father ended dying and his family almost. But now, even having returned to the level 1 again, he will use all your skills and knowledge to be able to help your family. Guys, this is the continuation of the video previous. If you haven't seen the other videos, I'll leave a playlist pinned below. Now let's continue. Where we left off, the examiner mentions that the summoning ability will determine the degree of someone's power than him. Asks Kong to attack a creature, then Kong is surprised to realize that that monster is actually a Kong hologram. So say this is all fascinating, and then he sends his soldier skeleton show him his strength. After these events, Kong discovers that if became an F rank awakened, so he asks if this is a high rank, and the examiner says it's actually the rank lowest of all. He explains that his combat power with summons is more weaker than they expected, and for this reason he had received the highest ranking. Lowest of all, Kong thinks that the rank is not it's so important to him, because true what he needs is just power. Enter the dances when checking for him. Find an interesting dance, then others awakened appear and ask if K wants to join their group, informing that they are in 7 people, and there is 1 more place left. Then Kong responds that everything is fine, that he will enter alone, and the angel extra asks why Kong would waste money from the fee entry in this way, considering that it has a time limit and a limit on how many bloodstones he can dig. So K just look at the extra. Then the extra smiles, saying that Kong is a new miner, so in. Then he asks what the rank of Kong. Kong responds that he is in the rank F. Then the extra says what his name is. Danu, that he is a veteran miner from Hanier. He comments that it looks like Kong came a little uninformed and without planning, suggesting that Kangi join their group and use their experience how to learn Danu. So tell me, Kangi, don't worry, because he will ensure your safety. Kong thinks that it appears that the entry fee that each person has to pay is determined by how many people enter together. If he enters alone, he would have to pay 3,000 years. So Kong says this is very expensive. Just before this, Danon had told Kong that a total of 8 people can enter the DJON Jutsu and pay less entry fee. Then he says that if Kong enters alone, he will have to pay 8 people share. Then he explains that to dig the stones of blood efficiently would be better enter with the maximum number of people allowed. Kong so thinks he will use this chance stop to learn more about these things, and it won't hurt if he's in a Sungo group. Tells Kong that it's very stressful, so he says that one man should never show nervousness. Even if he is nervous, then he realized that Kanga is quite confident. Sungo says that 2 months ago he awakened his ability, so he left school and officially started work as awake for a short time. Afterwards, several injured woken up left then 2 of them were quite angry. Says that a sick person appeared and that it doesn't make any sense. Sungo tells them that there is nothing they can do. Even if they create a ruckus, they will just waste your energies. He says that there are times when other monsters that are not in public information about the D already appears, and that a Dund is a 2-star monster, and if they using their tricks well, is not impossible defeat him with this. He says to his group, get ready because they are going to enter At the dance shortly after they entered, they start eliminating the monsters. One of them says that K's skeletons are a little better than an HF. He think this is because he used the points that were left to go up quite this level skill. Then he says it was worth it. Sungo quite excited. He says it's like expected from a 2-star and on, because the drops are incredible, and with the size of this stone they can get around 20 notes. Kong is surprised because that little stone is worth 20 notes, and he think it's not surprising that so many people want to become awakened and enter the dance. Sungo thinks that despite of just being at the entrance they achieved all this where they performed a dance. A star doesn't even compare to this one. Then very excited he says that the dungeons of 2 stars are the best. After they walk a little around DJON, Sungo says they will soon reach the last one level, and then they come across the strongest monster. So Sungo says that it's okay because they just need to act. How are they doing so far? Kong so say they better go with be careful. Sungo says he's already there, familiar with manual and the attack. That guy's main thing is magic. He explains that Jae-Soo Erg's ability bearer. Then he says that with that their victory is certain because it only needs Jana to use his barrier to delay them, and so they manage to advance. Kong thinks that since the leader of Group O, he said he was in no position to speak nothing else, then the goblin launches its magic and Joe could quickly raise the barrier, and after that the others leave on top of the monsters. Then the extras start attacking the goblins. With several days, Mag and Kanga observe say that this is dangerous, so he thinks he had fought with countless monsters on planet Alphen, and what he had also fought against these goblins. He thinks high goblins are intellectually superior to goblins normal and are also able to use magic. Then he says that however makes these monsters dangerous is not the magic. Then one of the extras asks if those goblins aren't acting kinda different. Then one of the Globin rolls a dice, getting the game right. Then another Globin comes from behind and hits Kong. Then says it's because that they are dangerous and that monster has the ability to command. Due to his intellect, he knew that a goblin squad that has a commander cannot be considered as a normal star monster. Then quickly several goblins stop to on top of them, and desperate Sungo sends everyone run. One of the extras tries use your fireball to stop them, but soon he realizes that nothing helped. So Sugo says that this is no use and asks them to back off for now. Extras so say that John has stayed there. Then Sungo says that he is already dead and asks if he isn't seeing. Then he shouts for everyone to run. Then the goblin begins to smile, conjuring magic in. Then he launches his magic, hitting a of the extras, making him fall. Then he and all the other goblins surrounds that hidden gang. Guy was watching everything, and then he speaks. It's been a while since the last time that he married Goblin, but now it's already time for him to start his hunt. Then he summons several skeleton warriors, and the furious Chief Goblin points at the skeletons, telling the goblins to attack. Gang says it's difficult to deal with one group of goblins commanded by roving Glob, but he attacks them, saying that this is not a problem for him. Then the skeleton soldiers start to fight with the goblins, and he says that while the skeleton soldiers watch over of goblins, he will eliminate the boss of them. Then Kangi jumps on the boss goblin, leaving him quite scared. Then quickly the goblin chief begins to heal a spell, but before it he might be able to finish conjuring, Kong manages to land a blow on his head, eliminating him. Kong then smiles, and he says that Sign thought he was going to wait his abilities reset, so it's informed that he reached level 6 and Kong says that as expected, it matches more. He plays solo rather than in a group, but for his surprise one of the members was still there. I live asking him for his help. Kong then approached that extra and asks what he can do for him if he saves the extra, then says that he won't tell anyone, and Kangi asks about what, then he says won't tell you that Kangi isn't awakened from rank D, so Kangi says he doesn't care for that. Then Kangi thinks a little. Then he says that they will be kids, and after Kangi smiles, doing a little turn with the guy, asks if this is a peace sign. Shortly after, Kong was eliminating the monsters while the guy was singing the Stones extra while watching the con. Do you think that a person like that is an RF? Where at least he should be a rank D, since his combat skills are enough to hunt level monsters 2 on their own, plus he can summon skeletons and has a search ability to find bloodstones, and that he even has a type of skill that healed his body using something that came out of the dead monsters. So the extra speaks for this variety of skills. It could even be a rank to be him. He says it's unbelievable because they only did 3 hours since when he recorded how awakened, and Kong asks how much it will be. What are all these bloodstones worth? Extra says he should be able to around 8 million ones, and Kong says to achieve all this after investing 100 million ones is very good. Then Kangi looks at the extra and says this is all his and asks if he understood. Scared, the extra speaks, which is clear, and the extra thinks it is this guy's obsession. Our money is unbelievable, so he says he accepted Kang's deal because his life is more important than 2,000 years. Little time later, they find the return stone. However, the system informs that a slight bloodlust was detected. Kangi making the extra wait because it seems that it was an ambush. Kong then begins saying that they already got rid of everyone, the monsters. Then he asks why you don't stop hiding like the rats, and then leaving Sons and the rest of the group appears, and they ask what happened if they killed everyone, those calm monsters. So look at the extra says they are planning attack them if they get closer, or extra asks what they are going to do. So Kangi thinks a little. Then Kangi says they are back after running away with his tail between legs where they should have waited in front of the barrier. Then he asks why they are still in this place. Suinsu asks why Kanga was there acting this way with your partner of team, as they just returned to clear the dungeon after a retreat. Strategic, but it seems that all monos had already been eliminated when they arrived, so he asks how Kong managed to do this. Kong says that they just voted to take the stones of blood. Then he shows his voice, asking if that was what they were looking. Then Kong starts to play all the bloodstones on the ground and dark form. Kangi says if this is it, what they want, just get it. Then Suinsu says he believes Kong had understood something wrong because they are not stupid to kill him where he killed a group of monsters that they didn't were able to do anything against them. Then Sugo says he feels bad about not have saved those people, but what he could do for his life was at stake, so he says they just came to collect the bloodstones, and lucky they both had cleared the danjo. Then he says he's grateful for being able recover Shun Tzu's body in security. Kong then looks at Sungo and wonders if he's being too much sensitive because the ambush may have been just only for the monsters. Then he speaks, who was very alert after spent 20 years in Alphen, so he thinks that here is not Alphay but the earth. But soon after, he is hit by a fire magic and the other extra Tagung. Sungo starts laughing, asking if the awakened people are not all the same, and in then he hits a GOP on Kong in Another location Yorin receives a call from a guy saying he found the intruder, and his name was Kong, and he says that it was difficult to find out who he was, but it appears he registered as recently awakened, and she stays surprised and asks where he was. Now returning to Kong, Sungo was happy to believe that there was eliminated, but to his surprise he soon discovers that he has stopped his attack and in. Then he throws him to the ground with a lot of force. Kong starts laughing, saying that he acted exactly the way he did. I was waiting for him to ask if this is how I am. Awakened are questioning what their shame they may be, for they had got greedy because of the stones of blood. So Kong summons his skeleton warriors and talk that now it's time for punishment right away. They begin to eliminate the awakened. After that, Kangi calmly goes to Sungo, and desperate Sungo pee for them. Talk and somberly Kong question by questioning if this is for skilled cooldown ends his dignification. Then next Kong hits Sungo, making him scream. Desperate Sungo, then scared, speak. This is crazy because that guy had killed a person. Kanga look at Sungo's body, says it really doesn't. There is hope for people who betray their others. Then he asks Sungo if it isn't true. So he says that 5 people on top of that, and when looking at Sungo, he asks why he doesn't answer right away. Then Sung, shaking with fear, speaks. That's right. So Gang says he almost died for his house, and Sung speaks that everything is fine, and after that Kangi look to him and tells him he will want more. 2 of the big ones, so Sung says no. Understood. Kong then approaching him and says that he had saved him too. Sometimes he asks if you want him really explain. After that he leaves from jail, and on the way out one of the guys who managed the jail asks if he only had the 2 of them, and Key says that the others were killed by monsters. The guy asks how did he manage to get all the stones of 100, and Kong says that even though he is Mora still needs to take good care of the money. After that the guy asks him sign before leaving where the office can contact him later if he needs help with the investigation of the incident. After they leave, Kong says he didn't even think he would get more than 3 million OS in just one, but die. Then he says that even adding Sung's dead gives a total of 17 million ones. Then quite excited, he says it looks like he has to go to the punches alone from now on. After this, Kong said to Sung who he really hates traitors, and as he walks away he says that later he will wait for him, get in touch to pay the debt. Then Sung says he's chipped and will need to take out a loan. Elsewhere, the cell phone seller talks that doesn't have any customers, but soon then he gets scared because Kong had kicked the door. Kong catches the salesman for the neck and lifts it. Then the seller thinks that guy is very strong and in. Then Kangi slaps him in the face. Angriel asks what Kong is doing, but soon after Kong gives more some buffets in his ear. The salesman thinks this guy is crazy, and if he does something he will die. Then he will die. Asks if this is what he saw in a television, some type of violence already discriminated against with a face quite bloated. He asks Kong to spare his life. Then Kong throws the salesman to the ground, and in despair the seller kneels and asks him how he can help you. Kangi looks at him and says he hates people who betray him, and the same goes for those people who lie to him. Seller then wonders, what do you mean? Betray? Because he had never met him before. How could he have cheated on? Then Kanga shows her cell phone and talks that he was the one who sold this crap to him. Then he asks if the seller doesn't remember. It's at that moment that the seller remembers that he had sold a cell phone to an idiot, and now he's in front of you again. So quite angry, Kangi question if the seller will not respond him. After Kangi leaves the store, he realizes that the latest model of phone is different, and he thinks that if that Seller was off, he would have ripped off all his limbs. Then several people appear and speak that Kong is the F-rank necromancer, but seeing that he has completed the Gong station, Shu alone his true rank must be. That being the case, it is not impossible that two rank F plan a team fight. So Jiran says that he is very red-faced, so being a newbie, so Kong asks who it is. She then introduces herself as Yeren, being the captain of the main team of Guild Warong, so Kong can feel that this girl is very strong and in. Then he asks if she wants any thing with him. She says there was a mouse that she found in her guild dungeon without any kind of fear, and Kong asks if she brought all these people together to catch a mouse because it seems that Gilda Umang has nothing better to do, and Kong says the Azam was terrible. Then quickly a guy throws Kong in the floor, telling him not to say what because their guild is something that imbecile like him can't talk about. Kong then gets angry and gets up, quickly retaliating against the attack of that man, but quickly Yin kicks him, throwing Kong away. In then she steps on Kang's head, and he thinks this girl is very fast. Then she says she will give advice to Kong, saying he doesn't seem to be a normal F rank, but he'd better not make yourself known with this insignificant skill, especially if ISO involves Warong Guild. In she says that if Kong wants to live for him of time, he should listen to the advice her. Then after that they leave. Kong then fell and says it's been a while since when was he stepped on like that, so he thinks he will remember it well of Aaron and the Warong Guild. After falling night, when he finds Jaren, he stays surprised to discover that Kong met with Yeren, and Kong asks if that person is known. Jaren says that she is one of the A-rank awakened of this country, and she is from the Warong Guild, and that, along with RH and Ram, is one of the 3 guilds that represent the entire country. Jaren explains that they are very influential, especially in the economy and in politics, where they are number 1 in market, so he asks what Kong did it to get the guild's attention. Warong in your first dungeon. Kong then asked what happened. He did so. He said when he regain his strength, he will be able to finish that one off with the entire pilot. Those people from the Warong Gyre Guild then starts to fight uncontrollably, saying that his trust is impressive. Kong knew he was in disadvantage even if he levels up. If you fight one-on-one outside the dungeon, there is a limit to how much he can use your necromancy skills, and since he needs bodies after this, Kangi gives a gift to Jaren, and Jaren, looking, asks why one. Kangi perfume says this is for borrowed money, so he gives one more little bit of din, so they're going to say that that's a lot, where he needed to give back just what he had borrowed. Kong says he has no problem and I could take it. Then he says this is for the money lent in the accommodation, so Jaren thinks that this means this guy will continue at his house. Jaren asks if Kong doesn't found yours mother, and Kong says that the house there is very small, and that's why he will have to stay in that place until he managed to buy a house. Kong he asks if this isn't enough, asking if he needs anything, and Jarenho says that the issue is not money. Then he asks if Kangi changed his phone to a model most recent. Then he asks to take a look, and Jaren says that this cell phone is made with bloodstones. Says it's very expensive. Then he says, looks like Kong made a lot of money. Kong says he won this as a prize, an event being a unique event that only happens once in a lifetime, where he put his life on the line after seeing the deposit notice. Jaren says this is a lot of money, and Kong says that idiot sent the wrong amount in another place. Sung meets with Kong again, and Kong tells him to explain that where he had sent the amount wrong. Sung So says he thinks Kong I wanted much more, and so he says he will pay everything you owe and just ask for one more. After a while, everyone around them starts to comment, questioning whether Kong was any type of loan shark. So angry, Kong speaks for him to sit if he doesn't want to die. So Sug says he's sorry that he can't pay such a high price now. But if he gives him time, he can find a way. Then Kong think that something really happened. Understood, so he still decides take advantage of this situation, and Kong asks how long he has to wait, and he thinks this is a unique opportunity. Guys, thank you everyone who has watched this far. I ask that leave a like and subscribe to the channel, in addition to leaving a comment saying if we must continue with our adventure. This helps us a lot continue producing our content. Thank you to all of you who watched so far, and until the next adventure.